Well, hello and welcome to Wrap Up 2019. I'm Rhian Sherrington. I'm the founder of the Women in Sustainability Network. And over the next 60 minutes, I'm going to be taking you through a lovely process where you can unlock your learning and look forward to creating your best year yet for 2020. So it's really good to see you all starting to join the call. Sorry for that slight delay. We just had a little bit of an internet issue here, but that's all sorted now. So it's great to see you all coming onto the line. And if you'd like to say hello in the chat box, it's always nice to see who's here joining us live. And then for those of you who are going to be watching this webinar a bit later on through the recording, welcome to you as well. Okay, so what are we going to be doing? Well, first of all, before we dive into this into the webinar, just a quick sort of introduction of who Women Sustainability is, just in case you've just discovered us as a result of finding out about the webinar. But Women in Sustainability is the network for women looking to flourish in careers and businesses that are creating a better world. We're all about creating a learning community for you, and we do that mainly through our network hubs around the country. We have got hubs up in Glasgow and Edinburgh and Aberdeen, in Newcastle and in Manchester, in Oxford, London and Bristol. And we're going to be doing some taster hubs in the new year, hoping to get our network launching in Exeter and in Cambridge. And we're also, for the very first time, expanding out onto the continent with our first European hubs getting started in Frankfurt in Germany. So that's what we do, and we're here to focus on three things: to enable you to get connected and grow your very important network, to nurture your purpose, and also to give you inspiration, keep you inspired. Okay, so it's great to see you all starting to join the call. Let me just say a quick shout out. Hello, Tracy in Hampshire. Hello, Angela in Cardiff. Hello, Maria in London. Hello, Colette in Manchester. We've got Misra, I hope that I said that right, in London. And who else have we got? Oh, Dara in Glasgow. So you're all starting to come onto the call. And hello, Brenda, who's also in sunny London. Really great to see you. Okay, so what are we going to be doing? Well, over this webinar, we're going to be looking at how you can claim your successes from this past year. We're going to hopefully then be enabling you to prevent any unhelpful patterns that might be visible from repeating next year. And we're also going to be working to help you identify your key focus for having a very successful 2020. So I hope you've got a notebook and a pen with you, or something to make some notes with. I hope you're able to manage any distractions, shut that door, put the phone down, just really give yourself permission to be with me right now for the next hour or so to really do this work together. So just to help us do that, I know you've probably been rushing around quite a lot this morning, lots going on in this run up to Christmas. So before we go any further, can I just invite you to just get fully present here with me right now? And so if you could just put your feet flat on the floor, if you could just rest your hands in your lap and just give yourself a couple of nice deep breaths. So just inhale nice and slowly, and then just exhale with a similar kind of rate. And then as you're slowly breathing in and out, bring your awareness to your forehead and just relax any tension that might be there up on your forehead. And come down to your eyes, and we often are always straining at the screen, aren't we? So just give yourself that sense of letting your eyes relax. Just move them around in their sockets a little bit. And then bring your awareness down to your jaw. We hold a lot of tension there, so just perhaps wiggle your jaw back and forth. Just letting go of anything that might be keeping it tight. And then bring your awareness to your neck and to your shoulders. Do you really need all the tension that's in your shoulders right now for the next hour or so? Probably not. So just with that nice deep inhale When you exhale, just let your shoulders drop. Allow yourself to relax. Let those shoulders drop a little bit further. Sometimes this helps if you bring your shoulders up to your ears and then drop them down. And if you want to just do that a couple of times, just to release any tension that's there. So just feel yourself now sitting into your chair. Feel the seat supporting you. Feel the tension, or feel your arms. Just imagine all that tension flowing out down your arms. You might want to just shake those fingers out a little bit as you just let yourself feel nice and loose and relaxed. Feel that floor underneath your feet. Feel that support that's there. The earth is always there supporting you, so let it do it so now. And just check your balance as you're sitting. If you've got your weight evenly distributed across your buttocks, sometimes we're a bit lopsided without realizing it. So just let yourself even yourself out. And to finish up now, just do a nice deep breath into your tummy, nice soft tummy, and just do a nice few gentle breaths, but deep breaths, filling your tummy, filling your chest. And as you exhale, just finally let go of any other tension. So how are you feeling? Hopefully you're feeling a bit more relaxed from when we started. Hopefully you're interested in what's coming next. And hopefully you're ready to start. Okay, so let's move on. So why is this webinar so important? Well, you're giving up your time. So I'm going to be making sure I'm going to make this hour for you really, really super useful. But I think the key things for us to reflect on is that we don't really ever give ourselves much time to reflect, do we? We're always bouncing around from one thing to another. And but that's really limiting us, because without that reflection, we just can't learn. And we're more at risk from repeating ourselves and just getting a bit stuck in doing things, getting stuck in sort of spirals of unhelpful thinking or feeling or behaving. So we need to take time to pause. And I think through the guided questions, which I'm going to be taking you through, I think this really can open us up to viewing ourselves through a new lens, a clearer lens. So I'm offering you a new lens where hopefully you're going to find some new insight, deeper clarity, and then that focus. And then, of course, from that reflection will come this renewed inspiration for action. So that's my intention for this session with you, is to put you in a place where you can look forward to the next year with some real sense of direction and that motivation, because you've had this opportunity to look back. So often we don't look back, do we? Sometimes we just want to shut the door and go, right, that's it, enough. I don't want any more. But we do need to just take a moment every now and again and pause and to consider what's been going on. So that's, bearing that in mind, I just want to pop up a poll that's just coming up onto your screens now. And I just would like you to view those questions and pick one that you think sums up your 2019 as much as possible. So just pick the closest answer to how you feel. And I just want to get a quick little snap poll of how you're feeling and where we are on this call. So I just give you a chance to do that. Obviously, those of you who are watching this webinar as a recording, you won't be able to take part in this poll, but I hope that's okay. So I'll close it in a moment. Most of you voted, just a few more to go. Okay, that's interesting. So we're hovering around the pretty good. It's had its moments, but overall it went okay. That seems to be leading at the moment. And we've had a few people where it's not good. Been some shiny moments, but you've had better years. Okay, so most of you are above the line, if you like, in terms of it's not been bad. Brilliant. And a few of you there not been so good. Okay, well, let's see if we can find some more gems for those of you feeling that it's not been a good year. Let's see if we can find some gems for you to make it feel a slightly better year. And for those of you who's been a really good year, let's really get real clarity on what specifically has made it such a fantastic year for you. Okay, so let's move on. I love this quote. I hope you don't mind, but I've added in the woman bit because Mahatma Gandhi didn't have that in his quote. But a woman is but the product of her thoughts. What she thinks, she becomes. And I think this is so true. And so, as a way of just leading us gently into what we're going to be doing, what have you been thinking about this year? So if you just want to take a moment just to write that down, what have you been thinking about? What's been the predominant types of thoughts in your head? So just write that down on your notebook. And if you want to, you can put that in the chat box as well. But just what have you been thinking about here? What has been dominating? I mean, I know politically it's been quite an extraordinary year, and that has certainly been dominating my thoughts. But yeah, what have you been thinking about? Okay. I love the work of this life coach. She's an American life coach, Michelle Gilotti. I saw her talk once, many years ago, but I really loved her perspective about being a creative heroine. And this is a quote from her: "I am a creative heroine. I create what I want to be a part of." And I think for me, that has been the absolute driving force behind Women in Sustainability. I very much felt 6 years ago that there was nothing there for professional women working to create a greener, happier and healthier world, to really meet across our silos and to feel part of a learning community. So that's, I guess, why Women's Sustainability came about. But what have you been creating this year? Again, as a little warm up to what we're going to go into in a little bit deeper in a moment now. But have you been creating what you truly want to be a part of this year? Be a little bit honest. You can think about this in terms of work, or it could be your personal life, or it could be both. But have you been that creative heroine? Have you been aware of what you've been creating? And is it something that you really want to be part of or not? I'll just give you a moment just to reflect on that question. Okay. So there's one thing I would like to invite you to take away from this webinar, is this sense of having realistic, flexible thinking. And what I mean by that is, there's so much out there, isn't it, about optimism and manifestation, and sometimes we can get a little bit caught up in all of that. And I think what's more helpful is to, yes, be positive, but have a realistic lens on that, and to recognize that we need to be flexible. That if we get very stuck in how we view where we want to go and what's going on, that can be quite unhelpful for us. So my invitation is to look forward with this realistic optimism, but with this ability to be flexible. And that's what we're going to do now on this call is to invite you to perhaps think about some things that have happened this past year slightly differently, because that's when we can unlock our learning, when we can perhaps see things through a different lens. And then I'm not saying it's all going to be rosy, of course not. We do need this realism, but sometimes we need to step outside of ourselves and look at things from a little bit of a distance to understand what's been going on there. So that's what I'm going to invite you to think about. And as a way of warming up now, a little bit more warming up, is I'd like you to think about 3 things you think you need to do more of in 2020. So have a pause and a ponder. These could be things which are maybe around your attitude or your mindset. could be actual physical actions, things that you realize that you kind of got the right idea. Oops, what's happened there? Sorry. You've kind of got the right idea, but you didn't quite commit enough energy to that. You didn't quite say, I don't know, get fully on board with that yoga or that mindfulness regime, or you didn't fully allow yourself to be more confident and stand up for your ideas. You kind of were aware of it, but you didn't quite go all the way with that. So there might be aspects that you recognize within yourself that you think, yeah, I just need to do more of that, and that's going to make a big difference. Just write some of those ideas now and see if you can get 3 of them. See if you can find 3. That would be fantastic. And for those of you who've moved quickly through this, because there's always people who work faster than others, you can move on to the next little point here, which is identifying 3 things you need to do less of in 2020. So I'll stop talking and just give you a chance now to write some thoughts down. Just give you a moment more. Okay. Okay, so we're heading into 2020. It's that time of year where we're fully immersed in Christmas celebrations. If you celebrate Christmas, if you've got family, it's all nativity shows and Christmas shopping and eating too much, drinking too much, staying up too late. And then we're all supposed to launch ourselves, aren't we, into this brand new year, and this year into a brand new decade, and all be ready for it somehow. And actually, that's really often really quite hard, isn't it? Because we're often going into January rather exhausted. And I'm determined that's not going to be me totally this year. But it does happen, doesn't it? So that's why we're taking stock now, because we do need to pause and we need to take stock and we need to look back at what happened over 2019 and to help ourselves identify, what was going well. What did we start the year with? And how much have we allowed, have we continued with that? Did we keep up that focus? Did we keep up our motivation and so on? And yeah, it can get hard. And this year has been an exceptional year. I don't think I've ever lived through quite a year with all declarations of climate emergency, the youth strike, this sense of real sort of awakening that we really now need to take action. And as change makers, all of us have felt that urgency for some time, but this year finally, I guess it felt like it really was coming right up to the fore. And I know that can feel utterly and totally exhausting. And I know many people have made themselves quite ill this year because of what they've been doing. So we just need now to think and look back and identify what we're doing, and we're going to do that review. And how we're going to do this is I'm going to just take you through a little bit of a visualization first, a little bit of casting our minds back, and I'm just going to invite you to engage with this however you want to. So for some of you, you might just want to just close your eyes and just listen to my voice and let your thoughts and your memories emerge, and you're not trying to write it down or anything. Some of you would prefer maybe to, I don't know, look at the picture and to be writing as you hear my voice. So either way, it doesn't really matter. You are going to be given the opportunity to reflect back and write things more in a moment, but you pick now what you're going to do. And of course, you can switch over if you want to start writing or stop writing. That's totally up to you. Okay, so hopefully you are ready. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you just to Yeah, take a breath. Just take a pause. And just imagine yourself now rising up through the roof, rising up into the sky and up into the clouds. You're warm, you're relaxed, you're comfortable. You've got nowhere to go, nothing to do except just to be here with me and my voice. You're going to give yourself permission now to look back across your year. Just let go of anything that's going on for you today, and you're going to let yourself, in a lovely, relaxed place, think back to the year. So you're moving back now. Imagine you're moving back through time. Years whipping past your face, but you're moving fast. You're moving back through the year. You might be moving back, but at all times you are remaining safe in your memory. So if anything unpleasant has happened this year, anything scary or frightening, you're not touched by that emotion now. All is well. You're just looking at that from a distance. And we're now touching down in January 2019. It's the dawn of a bright, brand new year. You're the week back into work after whatever you were doing over that holiday. And I'd like you just to think on, what are you doing? Where are you? Notice how you're feeling. What are your hopes and ambitions for the year? Did you set any goals? Did you set any intentions? Just reflect back and notice what seemed really important to you in January. And if you're writing things down, write a few things down now. Okay. So we're going to move forward into the year, moving forward through the clouds, and we're into spring. It's March, April. So now what were you doing? Where are you? Again, notice your feelings. What's dominating your focus now? How are you spending your time? Okay. So let's jump forwards again through the clouds. It's all warming up. Coming through into summertime. It's August. What was August like? Where are you? How have you got with those goals of yours? Are you feeling fairly confident and happy that things are progressing well? Or have you had a few setbacks? Some challenges? Or in fact, have you forgotten about your goals altogether? Have you moved on to something else? What is most important to you right now in August this year? And if you're writing things down, Just take a moment to put some thoughts on that paper of yours. Okay, we're just going to do a little hop now into September, because often September is almost like a second January. It's that kids returning back to school, coming back from holiday, and we've got this sense of time, haven't we? What is it that needs to be accomplished for the rest of this year? So in September, where was that renewed attention for you? What did you start to think, right, crikey, I've got to get this done. This is what I need to be doing. What are your hopes and aspirations? Notice how you're feeling. Is it all going well, or are you feeling something else? What's going on around you? What are your feelings towards that? All of this reflection needs to be done with a very good sense of self-compassion, non-judgment. So if you're slipping into some beating yourself up that you haven't done certain things or you didn't behave in a certain way, just stop that now. Just give yourself permission. That's what it was. Simple as that. Okay, almost done. Moving forward, start of December, just a couple of weeks ago. What were you doing? How does it feel? What are your aspirations now? What are you rushing to complete? What feels urgent? What's a priority? What have you done? Okay. Just take a moment just to put a few more thoughts down. And if you finished on December, just look back against the whole year. And just, if there was a word that summed up, or a phrase that summed up this past year for you, what would that be? Okay. So now, if you've had your eyes closed, just open them. Just come back into the room. If you've been writing, that's fantastic. You've got some good ideas down. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go through that reflection in more detail. So I'm going to be asking you some lovely questions now, just to help you go into the learning, into the unpacking. So if you could, again, keep mindful of self-compassion, don't beat yourself up about this stuff. Just have that lovely permission to accept that this is what happened. But let's see if we can bring in some different perspectives, some new insights. So if you've already done this is fine. But what happened? What did you do? What happened? What are the key events from 2019 that you need to write down now? Things at work, what happened? What changed? Or what didn't change? Were there specific projects that you completed? How did that go? Did you change job? Did you think about changing job? Did you leave? Did you leave work? Set up on your own? What happened in that professional space for you? You can also capture your personal life here. I've had a huge change this year, moving my family out of Bristol onto the Gower, going back to my Swansea roots, and huge change. It's been a bigger emotional change than I thought it was going to be. So my reflection on this year has been very much around holding that change for my family, and then suddenly realizing I wasn't even allowing myself to process that change for me, because I was just holding it for my children and everybody. So I've had to really do some reflecting on that, and some letting go. So what did you do? What happened? So thinking about work, thinking about family, thinking about relationships, finances, health, well-being, spirituality. Those are the kind of the core areas that all of us need to be thinking back on and reflecting on, because these are all the aspects of us that make up a flourishing life. You could have community there if that's one for you that's missing. So just, bullet points, but get it all down on paper. What did you do? What happened? So let's really identify the triumphs. So out of all of that, let's just think, what were your triumphs? Let's claim them. Let's own them. So what's gone brilliantly well for you? And in this, I'd like to invite you to think about those triumphs, big and small. Yeah. So those big ones that everybody, you might already be shouting about, but there might be some smaller things that you're actually quietly quite pleased about. There could be difficult relationships that you've learnt to manage in a different way, that you're implementing some emotional intelligence shifts, that you've realized through thinking about who you are and how you want to show up in the world, that you have been doing some changes on some of that. And it feels like you've done, you've changed some things, or you've created a shift that should be a triumph for you. You might not be sharing it to all your nearest and dearest, but to you, that is important. And then we need to acknowledge your frustrations. We've got to think about and just get it down onto paper. You may not share this stuff with many other people, but we can't always go into this rosy tintedness all the time. We need to acknowledge, well, gosh, actually, I'm still frustrated. This did not work. So what didn't work for you this year? Sometimes those frustrations are with others, and we can't change others, can we? But we can certainly change our response to others. But still, if you've got some people orientated frustrations, write them down. Often we have frustrations with ourselves. I'm constantly feeling I have one foot on the gas pedal and one foot on the brake, juggling how I want to grow the Women in Sustainability Network and my responsibilities as a mum. And I very much have I've chosen to work how I do, and the flexibility I have to allow myself to be there for my children and to be around and so on. But sometimes that really does frustrate me, because I want to work more. I've got lots of plans and ideas and things like that. So that's always one of my frustrations. But I think I'm getting better at managing that and being more realistic on what I can expect to achieve in a day, a week, a month. So before we move on, just look back at your list now. Have you got it all down on paper? Have you been able to pull out your triumphs and your successes and what you should be celebrating? And have you been really honest with yourself about those frustrations? Just give you a moment more just to flesh out that list. I hope I'm going okay for you. Let me know in the chat box if I'm going too fast or if I'm going too slow. So is this pace okay? You can just say yes or no in the chat box. That would be really helpful. So I know where you're all at. Great. Thank you, Emily. Super. Thank you, Dara. And thank you, Sam. Okay, so Let's move on, because what we need to do is we want to go a little bit deeper. That was your surface level of reflection. So let's just go a little bit deeper. So I've got a few more questions to ask you. So what does that all mean? So just imagine you're sort of stepping back a little bit from your year. And I just would like you to think about, how did I come to do that? How did I come to think that? How did I come to believe that or feel that? So just question yourself, looking at what's on your paper. How did you come? What's behind that? What led you to that? Was it you or was it somebody else? Were you conscious of the decisions you were making at the time? Was it done all in full awareness or not? I think it's really helpful to think about us. If you imagine you're standing in a little circle, and that's our sphere of influence, those things that we can influence and change based on our position, our experience, our connections, our skills, and so on. And just outside of that, that's, it's out of our sphere of influence. And we can't control what's in that. So we do need to discern, don't we, what's in both circles. But what I do believe and what I see through the coaching I do and through the network and the events I attend and what we do there is we can all grow our sphere of influence. We can certainly expand our ability to shape things. And certainly within that circle or that sphere of influence, we have so much choice, and we have choice over how we choose to respond to what's going on. So if that's helpful for you, just reflect on what you've just written with that kind of idea overlapped on top of it. Does that help you with some of your reflection here? Just give you a moment more. So the big question, if you could change one thing from this past year, what would that be? So again, this needs to be in your sphere of influence, because boy, there's plenty of things I would love to change from this past year, but they're not within my ability to control. So keeping it with this realistic optimism, if there's one thing, what would it be? What would be that one thing you would have changed if you could? Write that down. Okay, so leading from that, how do you know changing this one thing will make the difference to what you seek next year? So just read that sentence for yourself. And one thing I always say to people is we spend so much time in our heads. We're always in our heads all the time. But actually, this is about sinking into your heart. This is about allowing yourself to access that wisdom that you have, all of us have inside of us, if we just give ourselves permission to go there. Particularly as women, we are very intuitive beings, and we do know things. And a lot of the work we do through our network is to encourage women to tap into that and to allow themselves, give themselves permission to use this innate wisdom. So you may have answered that question. You may have answered all of these three questions from a very head-led perspective. So can I invite you now just to drop into your heart and ask your heart, imagine, just imagine you're having this conversation with your heart, and just ask your heart these questions and see what comes up. It might be quite different. And write that down. Thanks, Brenda, for sharing your thoughts there. Keep showing up. That's lovely. I think this is it, isn't it? When we start to see repetition, that's when we're sort of feeling that maybe we're onto something. So you're looking for that repetition. You're looking for things that keep on coming up. And so you might just want to ask your gut the same question. So this is it's called the head, heart, and gut check. We have neurons in our heart and in our gut, so we know actually the neuroscience is really telling us that we're not just our brain. Our intelligence is an embodied thing. It's right across our body. And I think it's exciting to see emerging science from this field that's saying, actually, that phrase, my gut instinct, well, there's a real solid grounding for that. So we need to tune into this a lot more. So again, just go into this idea of asking your gut, asking your stomach, how do I know? What's the one thing I should change from this past year? What would that be? And just ask your gut. Imagine you're having that conversation and just see what comes up. It might be different. And then repeat, how do I know changing this one thing will make the difference I seek? See what comes up and write it down. Okay, so now I'd like you to imagine you've got this lovely box. And we are creating now the present to yourself that you are going to take from 2019 into 2020. You might like to draw a box. I like to draw a box. You can imagine your own box. It doesn't have to be a plain brown cardboard box. But imagine you're opening your box now and you're deciding what you're taking from this year, and you're going to pick some things out from your reflection that you've just done. So the first thing I want you to put in your box is the 3 things you're most proud of from 2019. So you can write them in your little box on your page. You can mentally put these 3 things into your box. But 3 things you're most proud of from 2019. In the box they go. Write them down. Okay. Hopefully you've got your 3 things you're most proud of. Next, 3 things you really enjoyed from 2019. They could be holidays or time spent with friends or a moment at work where everything was in flow and you were aware that you were super enjoying yourself. It could be a week or 2's worth of moments, or it could be literally a moment. But those 3 things you really enjoyed from this year that you want to remember and you want to take forward into 2020. Oh, that's nice, Tracy. Tracy's just put in the chat box that a moment of being proud of was being highly commended by my local council business network as a sustainable business. That is brilliant. Well done. That's good. If anybody else wants to share in the chat box their moments they're most proud of, please do, because it's lovely to read. It's lovely to see what's going on for you. Okay, so let's fill up this box. So now I want you to add 3 things you felt powerful and strong doing from all those experiences you've had over this past year. 3 things you felt really powerful in your power, and strong doing. I had a lovely experience. I was invited to speak at a big event in London on International Women's Day, and it went really well. And I don't often, I like speaking, but I felt very much in my flow. I was sharing a panel with some incredible women. There was Charmaine Love from the B Corps. She was speaking. And but it felt amazing, and that made me feel very powerful and strong. And I'm that is in my box from 2019. I'd love to do more of it, but that particular moment in time, I thoroughly enjoyed sharing my story and sharing what I had to say. And I don't necessarily feel like that all the time, but that was a good moment. So that is in my box. So hopefully you've got 3 things in your box as well. So 3 things you're most proud of, 3 things you really enjoyed, and 3 things you felt powerful and strong doing. But our box is not full yet. So what I'd like you to do now is to think about, your one thing, that one thing if you did differently, or that one thing if you had actually done. We want to think about that now. So I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to repeat myself a little bit. So looking into now 2020, at this cusp of 2020, what do you want? Write that down. So I'm just going to ask you again, what do you really want? So go a little bit deeper with what you've written down. Ask your heart, ask your gut. What is it that you really want? What's your bottom line? That's it, with no apology, no caveats, no what's, buts, what ifs. What's your bottom line here? So I would like to invite you now to write that down as a goal. Positively stated. I have, I am. Create it as a positive sentence, not written as something you don't want. Be as specific as you possibly can and give yourself a time frame. What is this one thing that you want to see in 2020? This one thing that you've identified now from this reflection that is important, that requires this focus for you from the year to come. Okay? Sometimes when we write this first time, it's waffly to come out. Don't mind, just write it down. If it comes out as waffle, that's okay. You can get that a bit tidier after the call. But you do want something fairly tight, not several lines, certainly not a paragraph. So just something quite concise that you're going to do that's got this real focus for you for the next year. And is it something that you think you could be doing or achieving or seeing by the end of, I don't know, the first quarter, by the end of March? Or does it have a longer time frame than that? Is it something you could see yourself working on up until the end of July? Or is it something for the whole year that you want to be having? So I'll just give you a moment to write that down. Okay, so now I'm just going to coach you a little bit beyond that. I'm not going to take you very far into this. We are going to be doing another webinar in January, which is going to be really setting some fantastic goals for the year ahead. But I just want to get you kick-started on that. So what I'd like you to do, so you've got your goal, this one thing you're going to be focusing on, and just ask yourself now, what are all the component parts to making this one thing happen? So write them all down. This is a little bit of free flow. Sometimes people like to mind map this. So you could put your one thing, your goal in the middle of the page and just mind map it out around, do lots of lines and just really do a bit of a download. What are all the component parts to make that one thing happen? In order to achieve that thing or have that one thing or be that one thing, what else do you need to see happen? Write it down. Keep going. There probably are a few more things. What have you missed out? So if you're ready to move on, just see if you can identify what the first thing is. You've got all these things that need to happen. What would be the very first step you'd need to take? And that becomes what your focus is for the start of January. But what's that very first step? So we're going to be doing more in this January webinar, but you can start there and say, how are you going to do this, achieve this or create this? So that's your first step. You've unpacked what needs to happen and you've identified where you're going to start. And now you think, okay, how am I going to do this, achieve this, create this? And I just want to share one little tip for you, is that often this gets easier when we're starting to create some change and shift things, is when we can hook something onto something we're doing already. So if you're thinking about perhaps, I don't know, a positive habit or changing a habit, if it comes from a pull place that you really want to do it, then that's actually easier for you to achieve, not a push. So the classic one is people saying, I want to lose weight. For example, our brain doesn't want to lose anything. So you're setting yourself up to fail straight away if you keep on saying, I've really got to lose weight. Hooking things on, if I do X, then I do Y. So when I go, on a Monday, I walk to the bus stop. Or on a Monday, I get off the bus 3 stops early and I'll briskly walk the rest. It's just finding those little hooks. So for me, I work from home now and I love it. I love my little office. I can see the sea, although not today because it's pouring with rain outside. But I'm not getting as much physical activity as I used to when I was cycling into an office every day. So I'm having to hook my physical activity, which I know is so important for my mental well-being and for my health generally, but I have to hook it onto. So on a Monday, when as soon as my daughter's out of the door on her bike, I'm on my bike and I take myself off for a cycle ride. She cycles herself to school. So I'm trying to hook those things. And good habits take anywhere between 31 and 66 days to achieve. So you have to persist. You have to keep doing it. And so finally, before we pack up our box a bit more, is how will you know when you've been successful? Okay, so how will you know? So many times people create amazing goals and create loads of action and got all this motivation and commitment, but they don't actually know, they haven't got this sort of clarity over, I'll know when I've done that because I'll something. And it's often a feeling. I'll know that I've done enough or I've achieved that because I'll be feeling brilliant and I'll be able to do X, Y, Z. So identify for yourself now some ways in which you've been successful. Okay. And I want you now to add that to your box. Okay, so you're mentally or physically, because you're writing it into your box, your one thing, your goal, clearly stated into your box. And I want you to add your first step. So you're taking this from this year. I'll give you a moment just to write that down or to mentally commit. Okay, so before we move on to the wrapping, which is that wonderful last piece that we're going to do together on this webinar, I just want to share something with you, because this has been something I've been meaning to launch all year. And part of my frustration is that we've not been able to do that, but we have been testing it out. But coming next year is our online hub. And this is creating an opportunity for female change makers to access some of the experts and the learning and the discussion that we are sharing in our network live events online. So it's been built so that there are regular masterclasses that you'll be able to access every month, sharing some of that expertise. There'll be live sessions, live calls, a bit like this one. There'll be fantastic workbooks you can download, lots of things that you'll be able to engage with to really support your personal and professional development. The categories you'll be able to look at are around these 6 areas: being an impactful change maker, business success, progressing your career, goal setting and focus. We'll be looking at mindset and well-being, because I know that's so super important for us to maintain our mental well-being and our enthusiasm and our energy, and to work in flow with that, because the changes we're trying to create can feel quite heavy and overwhelming. So we've got to nurture ourselves. And also we were sharing lots of inspiration, so lots of stuff to help you there. This is something that we've got already live with our little tester group, and Claire Russell, who's offered this amazing web masterclass, she'll be coming back and doing something very soon in February. And we've also got where I'm equally excited about, this members directory. So it's a subscription base, you have to pay to join the platform, but you'll be able to find others on this platform and to deepen your connection. You'll be able to create a proper little profile for yourself. You be able to tag yourself, what you're interested in, and what we're hoping to create here is a really fantastic community of women willing to be, very positive, responding very positive to people, contacting them, asking them questions, a little bit of informal mentoring, that kind of thing. Anyway, but this is all coming at the start of February, and what I just wanted to share with you is basically get on our wait list. If you get on our wait list, that's the long list there. I'll include that link in a follow-up email to you all, but get on the wait list after this call, go through, put your details in, and you'll be the first to hear when we're launching it, and then you'll be able to access a few little bonuses and things like that as well. So do take a look at that and get yourself on the wait list, because really excited, been meaning to do it. Oh thank you, Angela and Tracy. Yeah, it's been good. It's going to be really fantastic, and yeah, super excited. Okay, so that's that. You can write the link down, but you can also it'll be in a follow-up email for you as well. So now let's close the call with a final bit of wrapping, and this is really powerful. This is really powerful. So a wonderful lady I know, Nikki Marshall, introduced me to this, and it's about really taking ownership of what you're saying to yourself. And the words, these 2 little words, I am, they're so powerful. They're so powerful. And when we've got clarity, when we know who you want to be, and you can say, I am da 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 da, and it's tapping into the best of you, the highest of you, and you keep saying that, you keep repeating this, you are being a creative heroine, you are creating this for yourself. So what I'd like to invite you to do as you're wrapping for your box is to write down 5 things that you will be in 2020. Okay, and for example, I've had this one for many years now, but I am a calm, loving and nurturing mum, because that's really important to me. And in the busyness, as I think many of you will relate to, in the busyness of wanting to affect change in the world and etc., I don't want to lose sight to actually what's really important to me, which is to be able to nurture my children how I want to be. So if I have to take the foot off the gas so that I can be that present, calm, loving, nurturing mom, then I will, because that's what's important to me. And I've got a few others around, you know, how I want to show up with women's sustainability and so on. So you can come back to this. You might want to write it out a couple of times actually, but just play with it. Write down 5 things you want to be in 2020 and repeat that often. Okay, I'll give you a moment. I know we're up on time. I know you'll all be having to go back to what you're doing, but let me just close. Say it out loud. It's really important you say it out loud. Write them and say them out loud. But I just want to close this webinar with you. There you go. That's your 2019. This is your box. Take it into 2020, knowing you've got all of that sorted. Do remember what you've done today on this call with me, and look out for information and the webinar for January. I haven't got it sorted yet, but I will do. It will get sorted. I just want to leave you with this quote. Do what you can from where you are with what you have. You have what you need right now, far more than you are aware of. So I hope you've enjoyed the call. It's been fantastic doing this with you. I will be making sure the recording is created and shared with everybody else, but I'm going to pause and stop and close this call down now. Thank you so much for joining me for this webinar.